The autumn wind is a pirate, blustering in from sea. With a rollicking song, he sweeps along, swaggering boisterously. His face is weather-beaten. He wears a hooded sash, with a silver hat about his head, and a bristling black mustache.
Yes, I know the
He
mic works now,
growls
right?
as he storms the country, a villain big and bold. And the trees all shake and quiver and quake as he robs them of their gold.
Can you hear me now?
The autumn wind is a raider, pillaging just for fun. He'll knock you round and upside down and laugh when he's conquered and won.
You know what I like to do? Just follow me on this one.
Hey, that fire still burns bright here in Las Vegas.
And one future.
Boys,
Talk about commitment to excellence, just win, baby. Once a Raider, always a Raider. You walk in this building, you can feel it.
It starts with our DNA, ill intent, physicality.
7 memorable decades, 30 Pro Football Hall of Famers, 25 postseason victories, 5 AFL and AFC championships, and 3 Super Bowl titles. Though names, faces, and locations have changed, one constant remains: the unyielding will to win.
Just win, baby. All right. I'm not going to play the whole thing. Let's get into this. I got some stuff to talk about. What's good? Shout out to everybody in the building. Let's go through these real quick. Furpo Raiders. Shout out to you. The audio works right. Everything's good. I know it didn't work in the beginning. I forgot to hit the mute button. I had it muted for the first part and forgot. Salute. Frank Weber in the building. Piano Man, Hawaiian Candy, what's good? No fighting, please. Being sad, boys, and learn how to be civil. Why you sad, my guy? And civil would be good. Ray Love, what it do, man. All right, so let's just get into it. I'm not gonna hold y'all up all night. Some concerns I have, and to me, they're very major. The first one we'll get into is Michael Mayer, and part of this concerns Brock Bowers. Now, Michael Mayer, we've heard the trade talks, we've heard the trade rumors, we've heard, Mitchell Renz and Chat Sports constantly bringing it up. It's a good subject, right? He's not being used. There's a lot of teams that could use a tight end like a Michael Mayer. And, it could help him, could help another team. What we could get for him, I don't think is worth getting rid of him, in my opinion. But what concerns me most is, how the nation is, he didn't produce. And we know by the numbers, yeah, he didn't produce, but he also didn't have a lot of drops, right? He didn't have a lot of bad plays. He just didn't have much plays at all, to be honest. So yard wise, I mean, if you're not getting 20 yards, per catch after the catch, yak yards after the catch, then you're not going to produce much. So, my major concern is somebody going to see the value in Michael Mayer and maybe offer the Raiders something crazy? Maybe somebody else sees more value in him than the nation. He was a second round pick overall. He was the Mackey Award? I don't know. Whatever tight end award. I don't want to say because I'll probably say the wrong one. The guy produced in Notre Dame. He wasn't just a blocker. He wasn't just a run blocker. You can use Michael Mayer in so many ways. And I believe I hope Chip Kelly feels the same way I do, that 12 personnel with Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers, with the Ashton Genty or any of these running backs in the backfield with Geno behind center, gives this team a whole different, aspect, right? You have a quarterback that can move. You have a running back that you have to worry about, that you have to scheme for. You're not just going to go into the game saying, all right, we're gonna double team Brock Bowers and let everybody else, do what it is, and we'll take care of business. That shit ain't gonna work this year. So I'm worried that maybe some team, sees the value in Michael Mayer, and maybe they, offer something that the Raiders will be like, damn, we can't refuse this. Or maybe one of these guys behind him step up. Some of these guys that are behind Michael Mayer are pretty athletic also, not a second round pick. So I have concerns with Michael Mayer. I just hope that he remains on the team because, it's going into his second year, two different coaches, what, three different coaches, right? Three different coaches. So three different coaches, a bunch of offensive systems. Somebody's going to find a way to use this, and I believe it's going to be Chip Kelly. So I just hope somebody else doesn't see the value in this kid and, try to squeeze him away from the Raiders, because I think it would be a huge, huge mistake. Second off, not going to talk much about it. I've talked about it for the last 3-4 nights. Christian Wilkins, I've heard people say prepare for him to miss the season. Then I've heard people say he's going to be ready to go week 1. That concerns me, right? That concerns me. That's too big of a difference. When you got people saying he might miss the whole year. Now, I've said possibly if he's not ready by week 1 and they put him on IR, after the bye week, he should be ready to go. Pretty close. Enough to get out there, probably not 50 snaps a game or 30 snaps a game or whatever, but enough to get out there and make a difference, I think. But yeah, that's a huge difference. Some people saying he's going to be ready to go. Some people say, be prepared for the worst. I don't know what the worst is. Obviously, the worst would be missing an entire season. Can the Raiders afford to have Christian Wilkins? And I know we have a little bit of depth, but these guys are all young. These guys, if they do start to show flashes, right, teams are going to find a way to try to take advantage of their inexperience on the defensive line. And yes, inexperience, because there's another problem. We'll get to that last. So Christian Wilkins, I wasn't really concerned about this man right off the rip, but now I'm starting to worry a little bit more. Like, what's the real story here? Is this guy going to be ready to go? Is he going to miss games? Is he not going to be ready to go at all for the season? To me, that's a major concern. And it gets worse when I give you my last one, my top 5. The free safety spot. Free safety spot and corner spot. Now, I've said I have faith in these guys, right? We have some depth, more than we've had last year. A lot of these guys were put in tough positions last year, had to play on the fly, had to learn on the go. What's up, Jason Ruiz, Billy D? So a lot of these guys, it's on how fast they pick it up, right? So I have concerns about that. But what concerned me is I found that little information today that, thank God, the good news is Jeremy Chin is back. He missed, I think he missed the whole week, they said. The whole week of practice? I could be wrong. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But that's not a good sign. Jeremy Chin, hopefully it wasn't from an injury. We can't have injuries that early before the pads are even on. So I don't know what happened there, but that kind of concerned me. What else concerned me is they said in the interviews, if you watch the presser, it seemed like Jeremy Chin is going to be used a lot, possibly at the nickel position. That guy that's covering the inside guy. So that could leave another problem, right? Leaves another huge problem. LVR, what's good? We have depth, I believe, in the defensive back, but they're all young. They're all very, very young. People are talking about, bringing in Jalen Ramsey. I've talked about that. I'm not going to talk about it much more. Y'all know how I feel. If they think it works, shit, I'm down if we can get them for the right price. But yeah, we have a lot of youth, and the experience we have doesn't have a lot of playtime, right? Eric, EJ's out there. So that's another huge concern for me. That's a huge concern for me. If if our depth, and our veterans are out there, that is a guy that's only played 17 games last year, is one of our top guys. Another concern that I have is Jacorian Bennett. There's been more and more talks that he's been on the second team. Now, is he just on the second team because he's nursing an injury still? He's not fully healthy. Are they trying to light a fire under this guy and, make him play the run more, make him, I don't know, like I said, just light a spark under his ass? That concerns me. That concerns me because Jacorian Bennett was, one of our best corners last year when it come to, to man coverage, to taking care of his guy. So that's a big concern that I have. And it's starting to get, bigger and bigger because if you're moving Jeremy Chin into the slot, into that nickel position, that means you're probably moving Isaiah Palmau back to the strong safety position. Who's playing who's playing free safety? Is it going to be Lonnie Johnson? Is it going to be Trey Taylor? You know, it's starting to, which I'm sure they have a plan, right? If they're moving these guys around, it shouldn't be much of a concern. But to me, it just sparks a little concern in my mind of, what are they going to do with these guys? Who's going to be where? I've talked about Lonnie Johnson. I think we've all seen his pressers. We've heard his interviews. The man sounds like he's locked in. He's ready to go. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's got something to prove. He's already had an interception, early in camp. Can this dude continue to impress out there? And does he take that spot? So, to me, that's just another concern I have. The offensive line, there's a battle going on, right? Jordan Meredith, Dylan Parham, who's going to be that left guard? I'm not concerned about that. I'm good with either one. If they feel those two guys are the top guys, then I don't have many concerns about that. But my major concern is I feel Meredith should be on the right side over Alex Kappa and probably the rookie, Caleb Rogers. Why are they not playing him over there? He played a lot of snaps. I think more snaps on the right side last year, I do believe, than on the left. So another concern I have, if Parham does beat out Jordan Meredith, where does that leave Jordan Meredith? He was our highest graded offensive lineman last year. Where does that leave him out? Does it leave him playing a backup role? Or if he gets beat out by Parham, who played pretty damn good in his rookie year, his sophomore year, dealt with some injuries, battled injuries last year, wasn't out there. Is he better than Jordan Meredith? Can he be better than Jordan Meredith? Again, another guy that can play both left and right and center position. So I'm kind of concerned with that. You know, I seen Dylan Parham be pushed around a lot. Now, was it because he was injured? That's another question. I can't answer that question. Or was it because he's just, too light and guys are just way stronger, bigger, more physical than he is? If that's the case, then, that concerns me in the run game, right? You have to be physical. You have to be dominant in the run game. You can't be pushed back. You're supposed to be pushing those guys back for your running back. So you have to be able to get to the next level. And if you're getting pushed back, then the whole play is collapsed, right? That's going to be an issue. Now, we do have Ashton Genty, who does bounce off a lot of guys. That's hopefully keeps continuing in the NFL. Rick Rock, what's good? What's good? He says, salute brother Raider Rebel and the Silver and Black Nation family. What's good? I like that Silver and Black Nation family. I might have to change my name. No. But yeah, so let me know. What do y'all think? Let me get into these chats while y'all answer. What do you think? What is your biggest concerns? Let me know. I want to know how y'all feel. If y'all feel like I feel, which I know a lot of you don't. Some of y'all have us, winning 7 games. Some of you have us winning 8 or 9 games. It's not even close to what I have us winning, right? So let me know. I want to know where you guys stand. What are your major concerns that you have for this team? What else we got? You led the show yesterday. Good job. Hey, yeah, shout out to shout out to Choose, Jess, whatever y'all want to call them. Good show yesterday. I enjoyed it. Look out, then there might be another one or possibly more down the road. Um, Working on that behind the scenes. But yeah, let me know. Let me know. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Did y'all think it was good? I mean, except for the beginning, right? Except for the except for the mishaps, and I apologize. I didn't have my shit together. He even asked me, and I thought I had made sure, but obviously I didn't make sure he could go live on his channel, and it kind of put us in a bind and set us back a little bit. But all in all, I think it turned out good on his channel. I was glad he got the views. Everybody went over there. Shout out to the nation for showing love. We know how you do. Y'all rock. Get back over here, maybe. So I can't move. Yeah, that one's slower than this one, but this one's delayed. I don't understand that shit. Crazy, crazy, crazy. He said what? Wait, what? Did I miss that? What the fuck happened? Again? Jason Down, what's good? 401 Jeff, what's good? What's good? You want to pull up? What are you doing? You got a show coming up? I want to test this out, see if it works. I think I got it where y'all could go live on your channel, but I don't know. I do not know. I'll get to that. But yeah, again, let me know your major concerns. What y'all do you have any? What are you concerned with? We've talked about Gino. I know y'all know that's my biggest concern with this team is what Gino are we going to get? Are we going to get the best Gino or are we going to get the same Gino? So I don't want to go in too much into that. But the O line, I have a major concern still about the O line. We talked about the left side, but the right side, are we going to have another rookie out there? And if he earns the job, then obviously the man deserves it, right? And Caleb Rogers, he's been, balling out there. He looks freakishly athletic for his size from what I've seen. I was going to pull up a little bit of film, but probably won't get into that. Try not to make it 2-hour lives anymore, unless somebody pulls up, then pigs was good. Appreciate you dropping in. He says I'm concerned with the O line mainly. So yeah, that's what we're talking about. I don't know what the hell. I think Colton Miller is good. I think Colton Miller is back. He looks damn good out there in practice. He looks like he's moving a lot better. I'm sure he has the contract on in the back of his mind, right? I'm sure that's a big question for him right now. Is he going to be a Raider? Is he going to be one of the only 4 Raiders not still remaining on this team at the end of the year, right? Are they going to make him play all year? Which I feel is horrible if they do. Are they going to make Colton Miller play all year with no guaranteed money after coming off an injury? I just don't know. I think they need to just pay the man. Pay the man, give him another 3-4 years, let him run out his time with Pete Carroll, and see where things go from there. But I believe he deserves the money. But I think Colton Miller is a lockdown. He's an anchor. He's been one of the top 12. There's no question about it. Tackles, left tackles, in the NFL for a long time. The man holds his own. In the run game, he looked pretty decent last year, right? I was impressed. Now the running backs behind him didn't, but there were many plays where I seen the man pulling all the way out to the hash, driving his man back, going and hitting the linebacker, going and hitting the safety, going and hitting corners. I seen this man hustling a lot, especially coming off the injury. And we talked about how they took advantage of Colton Miller, but I believe he's back. He's going to be strong. I think that's the anchor for the left side. And if he's there, I feel much more confident in this offensive line. with whoever's playing left guard, right? I think between JPJ and Colton Miller, I have a lot of faith in those two guys. So whoever's at left guard, if it's Meredith, I have a lot more faith in. I'm going to be honest. If it's Parham, I still have faith. I have more faith, like I said, that the guys that are on the outside of him. But again, my major concern is the right side. DJ Glaze did get put into a rough situation last year. He was not very good when it comes to giving up pressure. He gave up an awful lot of pressures last year, an insane amount of pressures. Then the run side of it, he was not very good. Our right side was horrible. Not horrible. It was very bad. It was, the weakest link, I think, in our running game last year was the right side, which is not a good sign if Colton Miller, is getting out there more than DJ Glaze, right? Running the field, getting to the next level, getting guys, opening holes. I seen that more on the left side than I did on the right side last year. So that concerns me is if a rookie next to DJ Glaze in his second year, or do they just put Alex Kappa, the veteran, in there, which really, really is my biggest major concern. The more I watch film on this guy, I don't know. He just doesn't look fast enough anymore to play that guard spot, right? Guards got to pull. Guards got to get out. Guards got to move. You got to get one guy. You got to get another guy. The quickness is just not there in the hands and the footwork, and that scares me. That scares me a lot. But do they just put him in there as that veteran presence, to help a second-year guy in JPJ, to help a second-year guy in DJ Glaze? I think those are my major concerns. And then the biggest concern I have, some of y'all might not know, some of y'all might know. Again, this might not be a big concern. It is not mandatory that these guys are out there, right? But for me, it's a major, major concern. Adam Butler is not out there. Adam Butler hasn't been out there for, I don't know exactly how long, if he's been out there at all, but I think it's been a week or two. So Adam Butler not being out there, is it a personal issue? Is it an injury? The fact that Christian Wilkins is hurt, Jeff, my guy with the five Raider Unleashed memberships, appreciate you. Grim, Matthew Marinovich, Eyes No Face, Terrence Sledge, and Artsy Fartsy. Man, welcome to the Unleashed Rebel family. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate you, Jeff. You are the best, my guy. Always supporting the channel, man. I appreciate it. I didn't read your message if you want to pull up. I asked the question and then I totally just totally fucking ignored it. And again, so what he said Jeff was using me. Hold up. For one, I asked him if he wanted to come on the channel, to get his shit out, because he did at the time he didn't have enough subs to go live. So that's number one. Number two, I tried to get him to pull me up on his channel, and he said, no, let's do it on yours. Now, I don't know what the reason was. So he said, no, let's do it on yours, and we'll get the people to come over there and just tell them about my channel. And then it was my fault for not having figured out how to get him to go live on his channel, because we were going to go live on both. I said, just come on there. We'll talk about it, set up yours, go live on both, and we'll send people to yours. That was my bad. I screwed up. And then he set it up on his channel, and I just hopped over there because I don't know why it wasn't showing both pictures for him on my side. So that was my bad, bro. Had nothing to do with him. So, bro, assumptions make an ass out of you. And that's not, that's not kosher, bro. That's not a cool thing to say. Like, now, was I on this show? I mean, yeah, that was good. I thought it was great. I thought we had great conversation. I thought we gelled, pretty good together. I seen one thumbs up. I guess none of y'all like the show, so you know, maybe it wasn't a great show. Damn, I got one thumbs up. Chewy show was good. Chiefs Raider fan, Chiefs fan 69. Appreciate you pulling in, but I guess the rest of y'all didn't like it. All right. So did Jeff answer me? Yeah, hi. I don't know what that means. So Jeff, are you doing a show? Do you have one planned for later on? Are you still in here? I'm always happy to be around you guys. Raiders, Jason Downs, I appreciate you. It means a lot, man. Piano Man's probably screaming into his pillow. Yeah, that's crazy shit, bro. Why would he say something like that? That just, I don't know what the hell, bro. I don't know what the hell. Y'all just talking shit. Unleashed Raider. Sorry if I missed you. I think I just got to you. I got the Furpo right. I'm not bueno. What's good? What it do? What it do? Remind everyone, hit the subs. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Never answered you. Oh. Okay. No, you canceled it. Well, shit, you want to pull up, man? You want to pull up and talk Raiders? You're more than welcome. I could try to send you the link, and then I can find out if it's working on your channel or not. Which would be cool. But yeah, so you know, like I said, Adam Butler not being out there is a major, major concern to me. We have a very, 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 I can't say very enough, young defensive line behind these guys. Those are the vets out there. You know, the other vet on the defensive line right now is Tyree Wilson, yo. Tyree Wilson. And they got him listed on the edge where he's at. So, man, that to me, that's a concern. That's a major concern for this team. If our defensive line, once again, John Leon was good, Frank Weber was good. I don't know if I got you. If our defensive line isn't what I expect it to be, what y'all expect it to be, what everybody expects it to be, what they expect it to be, that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem for our corners. That's going to be a problem for our safeties. That's going to be a problem for our linebackers that are not the fastest guys out there trying to cover, you know, some teams run fullbacks. So trying to cover fullbacks, running backs, tight ends, to me, that's going to be a little bit of a problem. What do you say? Yeah. Yeah, let me smoke bro and hop on. All right, let me try to send him this link, see if it works. This way. Invite guest. Okay, now it's not coming up the same. What the fuck? All right, let's just see if it works anyway. So earlier there was a setting buttons on that shit. Oh shit, I gotta get back to Wu Kin. Damn. All right, I sent him the link. Then I got to end these notes and make sure I have this so I know when he comes in. I do believe. All right, we'll see if this works, man. So, yeah, but my major concern about the Adam Butler thing is we have no veterans out there to, to bring these guys along. Sorry, my damn chair keeps fucking sliding over. All right, that's better. Yeah, so we don't have no veterans to bring these young guys along to show them the ropes. It's just Tyree Wilson out there now. Yeah, they could show them in the building, but they're not out there practicing. They're not out there, honing their technique. But I will say one thing. Oh, I'll say that here in a bit. So that's a damn. I see the link on IG on my phone. I'll be back at my pic. No problem, man. I just whenever you're ready, we'll be waiting. Um, what's up with the rumors on Nick Chubb? I keep seeing on IG. Is it fake news? Coming to the Raiders? I don't know. Probably fake news. I haven't heard any major things. I've heard talks about it. I've heard mainly reporters, like SI, teams like that, saying it's a possibility. It's a possibility the Raiders, could bring in a guy that's performed pretty damn well, right? More than Mostert has, in his career. Um, to me, I wouldn't hate it. The only problem I'd hate is Sincere McCormick, Dylan Labe. Two of these guys are probably getting the boot. They're not even make the practice squad. Yeah, so like I said, I haven't seen anything on the Raiders side. I've just seen reports. I've heard possibilities that the Raiders should look into it. Now, are they? I don't know. Like I said, from any of the major guys, I haven't seen any reports. But again, it sure the hell wouldn't be a bad idea. It would be a damn good duo to have Nick Chubb, grooming the rookie. Come on, that would be scary. That would be scary. But again, Adam Butler, and again, I don't want to act like it's a major concern because I don't know if the dude's injured or not, or if he's just not there because it's not mandatory. But my problem is that we have nobody, no veterans out there showing these guys. Adam Butler, you have Max Crosby on the outside, but who do we have on the inside? Jonah Lalu. Who else? Andre Carter. I think, that's not a lot of leadership out there for these young guys. What? So I believe, man, that's a problem. That's going to be a problem. Now, if it's just because he doesn't have to be there and he's going to show up at mandatory camp, which I'm sure he'll be there, but the leadership point, he says he wants to be that guy. He wants to take that next step. He wants to be on the field all the time. And I think, if whatever the situation is, again, I'm just speculating. I don't know. But if it's an injury, then cool. But if it's just, him working out somewhere else or something like that, I think he's needed in the building. And I think that's could be an issue for us in the long run. What else we got? Raiders. Yeah. So I've seen shit, but mostly LVR says it's gonna be it's coming to the Raiders, probably fake news. We have Genty and reports are coming out of camp. Is McCormick and Zamir are looking good, especially Zamir is night and day difference with Kelly as OC. I don't know where you heard that first from. Told y'all, watch out for Zamir White. Didn't I tell y'all? Haven't I been telling y'all? Everybody's been dogging on these young players, man, that they haven't had the development. They just haven't had it. It hasn't been in the building, right? It's been a lot of problems. It's been a lot of coaches in and out. They're learning from way too many people. There's no stability. Right guys gel in the right system, and Zamir White in the right system can be nasty. And if you don't believe me, I have proof. Just go look at Zamir White under a no-name offensive coordinator in Bo Hardegree. Look what he did. 4 games in a row, over 100 yards, dominated, looked like the best running back in the NFL. And then they get a new offensive coordinator, a new system, a new offensive line coach again, and he's injured. He can't get on the field. He comes back. He's injured. The guys in front of him are not doing any better, or he would be out there. You get a guy like Chip Kelly, man, under these young guys that just haven't had the leadership. You get the running back coach that we got. I can't remember his name. Where is it? At Notre Dame? Shit, I don't know. Apologize for that. The running back coach, high pedigree. They had a damn good running game wherever he was. I just can't remember where it was, which doesn't ensure anybody anymore. But yeah, so that's my feelings on that, man. Is I have questions about the defensive line again, and for me, that's a major concern because I really felt like that was our biggest strength, our biggest asset, and it has to be, right. It has to be. That's our most depth. You have 9 guys. No other position group in the NFL on the team carries 9 guys except for the offensive line. There's a reason there's 9 guys in the trenches, mainly because on the offense you got to have 5 out there, which is not a lot of depth when you look at 9 guys, right? You only have 4 depth guys. But defensive line, we usually only run 4. So, to have 9 guys, that's a lot of depth. That's a lot of cap space. That's a lot of, money. And if your 2 biggest guys aren't there to help the young guys, bro, that scares me. That scares the shit out of me. But again, let me know your concerns, where they all lie. Let's talk about this. LVR says, if Zamir White and Sincere McCormick are killing it in camp and these guys are looking good, do you just move on from Mostert? Because I talked about it last night. The guy's, doesn't play special teams much. He's not a special teams type of guy. Do you kind of just say, shit, release him? That's another roster spot, whether it be safety, whether it be corner, whether it be offensive line. Oh, you're good, man. So, let me know what you feel about that. If Zamir White and Sincere McCormick are stepping up and battling not only for that number 3, but are they battling, are they doing enough where they shine enough to maybe say, hey, we'll make them 2 and 3? That's a huge question. That's a lot cheaper. That saves us, we might take a little cap hit for signing them and loot, but we ain't paying them much, right? So it's not going to be too much. So let me know what y'all feel about that. Do we go get a guy like Nick Chubb? Thumbs up, thumbs down. How would you feel about bringing Nick Chubb? Yes, no? Hello, it's cool. I usually shrug it off, bro, but it happened twice this week. What happened? LOL. Why do people call me Bruno? I don't know. Maybe they think you're on Popeye, bro. I don't know. Oh, that's Brutus, huh? Shit. Everybody's fucking up names today. Best players play. Raiders way. What's good? I appreciate you. That's not always the case, man. That's not always the case. There is favoritism in the NFL. All right, my guy Jeff in the building. Let's bring up Jeff. See how this works. What's good?
What's up?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Alrighty.
I got to
What's
get
up?
that hat, man. You got to let me know where you got that hat, bro. I got to have that.
Got it for me for my birthday a few years ago.
Man, you got to find out where. I need one of those. I'm gonna copy you for sure. I gotta have that.
So what's going on?
Not much, man. Not much. Just talking football. What's going on with you?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's just chilling tonight. Seems as though we weren't going to be on. How do you?
Nice.
I've never used Restream before because I know the issue. It looked like it was Chewy, just trying to do it from your show. Like to stream to his.
I think I figured it. Are you live on yours now?
No.
Hold on, let me see this. See, I don't know why it's.
What's up? Now I'm not Bruno. Dude, I'm calling you that from now on. That's perfect.
I know you should have never said that in the chat, bro. Not everybody's gonna call you Bruno, bro.
Thank you, Rick Rock.
All right, this is weird. Huh. Well, that answered my question then. Fuck, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on, not going live on
Yeah,
your
no
side,
problem.
damn it.
Whatever, no
So
big deal. I was just trying to figure it out, so because I wanted to test it to see how that was on his end, because that might have been the issue. I don't know how he was streaming off of your. Oh, you were both using Restream, don't you? He uses it, you use it.
yeah, he was starting to use it. I told him to check it out. I was like, man, it's a little cheaper, it's
Yeah, I sent him that link too the
yeah,
other day when he was talking about it.
yeah,
I told him, I
everything's
said,
pretty much
StreamYard's
built
nice,
in.
it's easy to use, but if you use the free one, you only get 20 hours a month. So
Yeah. So I was telling him just to check it out because he was gonna pay for the month, and I was like, well, just come on this on the free version. But maybe it was because he was he didn't pay for it because I think he just came
yeah,
on
I
the
don't
free
know.
version.
Weird.
So, but it's still if it's on mine because I pay for the for the whole thing. So for the year,
Mhm.
so I have all the upgrades. It says invite 10 people at once, and everybody should be able to stream on their channel. But before I came
Yeah, I'm
on,
looking around. I don't see there's no.
I had I clicked this little button right here and it said invite guest and it gave me the option. It said share on their channel, but now it's not on there. So I'm confused. Very confused again. But oh shit, no, don't leave stream. Fuck. Okay, that was not good. All right, I ain't messing with that shit no more. But yeah, man, how's the grandbaby doing? How's the
Good, good.
being
It's been
grandpaps?
about a week since I seen him last, so but he's actually started taking the bottle, so they're happy. So
God, it's been 3 months since
he's
I
got his
seen
own
mine.
little Raider outfit now. So wife got him a Raider outfit and a Vegas Knights outfit because my son's a big Vegas Knights fan. So
Yes. Raising them right,
yep, yep. Well, he said to me, I said he's going to be the next little Raider fan. Well, I'm going to let him decide what he wants. I said, yeah, okay, bullshit. He's going to be a Raiders fan. I don't want to
Right?
hear it.
You gotta follow grandpa or papa or what do they call you? What's he call you? You
Grampy.
know yet?
I'm Grampy.
Grampy?
Yep.
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 Mine calls me G Pop. I had gotta have that still gangster persona.
Yeah, I didn't want to be Pepe. That just makes me feel like I'm 80. No Pepe.
And he's got so many. He's got my ex-wife's husband, so he calls them Grammy and Grampy, and then he's got
Yeah, that's what we are. Wife's
he,
Grammy and I'm
and then
Grampy.
he's got grandpa and or grand I don't know. He got a lot. He's got a lot of grandpa and grandma. So you got two on his her side and then two on my side. So yeah, it's a lot. But congratulations, man. I got another one coming.
Yeah,
Just
thanks.
found out last week. So
Oh no shit. Yeah, I got two now. So one's 5.5 and this one's like 3 weeks.
nice. Yeah, that's a little better. I had both of my kids are 2 years apart, so they grew up super close, right? A boy and a girl. So it worked out. And then I think my daughters, they're about 2 years. They'll be about 2 years apart. So I think he just turned 2 in November. So, man, what are you feeling about the going into this season? What's your major concerns and questions?
Just figuring out who's going to play the two guard positions. That's my major concern, to be honest with you, because we didn't get Genty to be just a statue back there, and if we don't have the right guys up front blocking for him, what was the sense of taking that pick? So,
Right? Yeah,
I'm
that's
fine with the defense, to be honest with you. I just everybody's all like, oh, we need this, we need that. Just give it some time for us. I guess the big surprise right now is there's been no one's been released. Like there's been nothing. I thought for sure, there'd be some big names that would drop, and there ain't nothing out there happening. It's quiet.
yeah. I figured after a lot of teams, I thought there would be a lot of teams that were itching to just drop guys after that June 1st deadline because you can stretch out their cap hit
Yeah.
for 2 years. So I figured there was a lot of teams, but maybe it's not that case. I don't know if they're just trying to trade the guys. They want to get
Well, I
something
think that's the
for
other thing
them.
is they've got players that they know have value. Like Miami is a perfect example. Like everybody was like, "Oh, they're going to drop Ramsey." I'm like, I don't think they're going to drop him right away. They're going to wait and see what they can get for a possible trade on him before they just say, "All right, see you later." You know, well, why get nothing for him? Like what we did with Derek Carr, we got nothing for him. You know, we screwed that one up. You know,
Yeah, that's horrible,
we
horrible.
could have got something for him. Might not have
Yeah,
been much, but would have been extra draft picks. That's for damn sure.
and you can't let a top 15 quarterback, whether people want to say it or not. Some people say top 10 at the time, and some people still have him, in there this year before he got hurt stat wise. So you don't just give that away. Franchise quarterbacks are just, they're not a dime a dozen. There's so many teams that fail. And when you have a guy in the building like that when there's so many teams that need a quarterback, to just cut him is the biggest mistake we've made in a long time since drafting Jamarcus Russell. Like, to me, you don't. We had nobody to replace him. We had no backup plan. Jimmy Garoppolo, stop with that. It was one of the biggest mistakes this franchise made, and it's set us back a lot. That team with Derek Carr, whether people want to say it or not, with Devontae Adams, Devontae still had well over 1,000 yards. I think one of his best years. Derek had close to 4,000 yards passing. So that team was primed. We had Josh Jacobs. We had a running game. The problem then was the defense. And then now the defense come along and we got no quarterback. So
Yeah.
it set us back a lot of years. So hopefully
I mean,
they
as
can just turn
screwed
us
up as
around.
last season was, the defense was the lone bright spot, along with obviously Brock Bowers. But
But
I just going back to the Garoppolo thing. Just what pisses me off is that's your backup plan. You let a guy like Carr go, and I know everybody's like, well, he was trying to get Brady. Give me a break. You knew damn well Brady wasn't going to come here at that point. We didn't have anything. We weren't set up to be, a Super Bowl contending team. Tampa Bay was. That was a no-brainer for him. That was a smart move for him, So you weren't going to get Brady. So your backup is Garoppolo because you think he knows the system well enough. First of all, he hasn't played under your system in like 7-8 years or 6 years because he was in San Fran. Yeah, he might be able to pick up on it quicker than most people, but that's your plan is Garoppolo. And how long did that last? How many games into the season did that last? I mean, come on.
Not many before he was beat out by Aiden O'Connell.
No, and the fact is that before we even got him in the building, he was already scheduled to go for surgery for his foot. First of all, wasn't going to pass the physical, but yet we still acquired him. Just talk. I mean, you take a flyer like that on a guy that's like maybe an offensive tackle, somebody that's not like a mainstay player, like your quarterback, who's the most important person out there. That you're trying to stabilize the position. We're going to grab a guy that possibly needs surgery right away, and you want to slate him to start right away. Get out of here.
Yeah, that's a big mistake. Hey, shout out to Oakland Raider Savage super fan. Appreciate you
Savage?
pulling up in the building. Who else did I miss? Jeffrey, Alex M. Appreciate y'all. You guys dropping in, rip it and flip it. Appreciate y'all. Somebody else I just seen I missed. Oh, Chronicles of the Black Hole. Appreciate you, my guy. He said we had Josh McDumbass. That was a huge mistake. I mean, the Raiders past is a cesspool of bad mistakes from players, from coaches to management to ownership. It's been that way for many, many, many years. And when you make bad decisions when it comes to the draft, when you make bad decisions when it comes to coaching staff, when you make bad decisions when it comes to personnel, it's hard to overcome. You have to get everything right in the NFL consistently, year in and year out. And the teams that do that, like the Kansas City Chiefs, like the Patriots when they were on their run, like the Bills that have been starting to do lately, the Ravens, when you start to do everything right consistently and you get the right people in the building, which I believe we have now, that's when you start to build on something. And we just never had a foundation to build off of. It's just been, like I said, a cesspool of mistake after mistake after mistake. You don't let a guy, like I said, a top 15 quarterback or even a top 20 if you want to put it in there. There's 32 teams in the NFL. If your quarterback's top 15, that gives you an advantage over 17 more teams. So if you have a guy like that, to just let him go is horrible. And the Josh Jacobs system, situation was horrible. The way we did Devontae Adams was horrible. Guess he got into a diva, but why would you really want to play here? He came here thinking there was going to be stability, right? He was going to play with Derek Carr. They let him go, and they're thinking, he's probably thinking the same thing we were thinking. Damn, they're not paying Devontae Adams that money next year. They're going to get rid of him, try to trade him or do something. So then you got Jimmy G and garbage Minshew throwing you the football. So bad mistake, bad drafting. And, the last 2 years, whether it was AP and Tom Telesco or, Pete Carroll now and Spytek, the draft has been good. Free agency, we have to wait and see this year, but it was pretty decent last year, except for the Christian Wilkins thing. It's not working working out very good. I know injuries happen, but man, what do you feel about Christian Wilkins? I
don't think I'm as worried as some people are. I mean, I think it'll work itself out prior to the season opener. I mean, in all honesty, how much does he really need to be there for training camp anyway? I mean, he is what he is. Just like if Max would have skipped camp, how bad would that be? Yeah, he might be rusty and everything a little bit, but I'm not. If he has to get another surgery now, that's a little different. If it just heals in time, I think we'll be okay. But I heard you talking earlier. The problem is who are we putting in there in his place now? I know a lot of people have said this. Do we move Tyree over into put him in the interior where he may be better? Because he's too slow to play the edge.
There's think he's better there anyway.
Yeah, I mean, if he's better in the middle, then put him there.
He's a run stopper. He has almost a 7-foot wingspan. The guy is massive. He can take on double teams. He don't on the interior line. You don't have to be as fast as you do on the outside. The outside, you need that first step. It has to be, elite. It has to be better than everybody out there. When you're on the edge, on the inside, you don't have to be as fast. You have to be more physical. You have to be stronger. You have to have good balance, right? You have to be, use your weight properly. You have to be able to get off blocks. And I see Tyree doing that. He's damn good in a run. He had a 70 in the 70 run passing grade in PFF last year. This man can play the run. So why not? Why is he not on the inside? I just don't know what these coaches are waiting to see out of Tyree on the outside. His strength, I mean, yeah, you can win like that. There's been guys like Richard Sherman, guys that win with power, but he had technique, and he wasn't the slowest guy. He had a good get off too. But, I'm just saying guys that are strong that can win with power that don't have to use all their technique. So Tyree should definitely be on the inside. It just doesn't make no sense why he's not.
Well, what kind of gets me about the whole Tyree thing is, here it is. We're going into season 3 with him, and everybody's still on we need to see something from him. You're talking about a first round pick, number 7 overall in 2023, and we're still looking at as we're still waiting to see something from him. We should have seen something year 1, definitely in year 2, for the full season. He should have been a starter already last year, but he wasn't, because he wasn't good enough. What happens if in 3 years from now we're still waiting for Genti to get off his ass and turn into what we thought he was going to be with the 6th overall pick? What if that happens? It's the same situation. How long are you going to wait for that? Say he doesn't have a good year this year. I mean, it's highly unlikely, but say he does. And then comes year 2 and he's still in a rotational situation where he's not the featured back. He's more of a one-trick pony type thing. So comes year 3, he's still not the bona fide starter like we thought he was going to be. Is everybody going to have the same patience with him that we did with Tyree? This is a 6th overall pick we're talking about. This isn't like a 5th round pick or a 4th round pick. That's a different situation. You don't expect a 4th or 5th rounder to start immediately unless there's something special about them. You expect your first round pick, especially in the top 10, to come in and have an impact from day one. You know, you don't expect him to still be a year 3. Oh, hopefully we see something from him this year. You know, it's like, are you shitting me? Year 3,
But
and we're still waiting.
let me say this. Let me ask you this, because I heard how you started that out. You said this is year 3 for Tyree Wilson. He didn't do shit last year. Last year he had 10 pressures, or he had 10 quarterback hits. He had like 20 something pressures, I do believe 15 or 20 pressures. He had 5 sacks. He didn't have near the playtime like I talked about as Jalen Carter, but his numbers are right there up there. His stats are right there up there. And let me ask you this. If we're talking about how Tyree is supposed to be that guy, we have Christian Wilkins, right, who missed with a foot injury that wasn't as bad as Tyree's coming out of college. From what I gathered from the information that I studied, Tyree Wilson's was a bigger injury. Now, Tyree Wilson, we knew he was going to be hurt coming out of camp. He wasn't even supposed to play the season that he played, so that put him back not being healthy and ready to go. Then you have last year was basically his rookie year. So if he didn't perform, if Christian Wilkins comes out, right, because he missed from the 4th game all of last year, if he's not ready to go week 1 and he has to be put on IR again, are you and the Raider Nation going to have that same energy with Christian Wilkins, who's making $140,000, who's played 4 games for us? Because if he comes back and he's not getting 10 sacks, because let's face it, I think the most sacks he's had in his career is 10 sacks on a defensive line. So what are we really expecting out of Tyree Wilson, who, 5 sacks, 20 pressures, and minimum amount of playtime, with a lot of depth in front of him? Christian Wilkins, when he was healthy, Adam Butler, then Jonah Lalu, then they bring in guys which, take over the edge position, and Kaylavon Chasen, who's way faster, way more get off, and they don't play him. When they do, they play him more at defensive end. So I just don't understand how people expect so much out of Tyree Wilson. That injury was a bad injury, and you're going to see from Christian Wilkins, if he's not ready to go, how much he does this year coming off, a same kind of type of injury. So I think people just expect, because he was a 7th round pick, that it's not Tyree's fault. I keep saying this, where he was drafted. That's the organization making bad decisions. And they knew, the doctors, they did the physical. They knew how long it was going to take him to be fully healthy. That's why he's still here. That's why they're not talking about trading him, because they see something in this man when he is fully healthy, when he gets the time, when he gets more reps, when he gets, more development. Because let's face it, there too, what development? He's had Robbie Leonard over and over again, but you've had different coaches. You've had Patrick Graham changing his system constantly. So for Tyree Wilson, I think we got to give him probably 2 more years. I mean, his 4th year, it's not his fault where he was drafted. I'm saying for the injury he came off.
No,
of.
it's not his fault. It's not his fault where he was drafted, but you know what? That's where we drafted him. The pressure's on you, kid. Step up.
Yeah, this year, because
that's how I look at it.
So this is his 3rd year.
Here's the thing: last year was a perfect chance for him to excel, because we didn't have Kuntz during the season last year. This was his chance to take over that left side, to take that spot. And what happened? We had to bring in a guy like Chase on. So we bring him in, and he ends up starting over Tyree, who's already been on the team for a year and a half. Still wasn't a steady starter, was being used in piecemeal to come out, or, in situational type stuff to come out and play. So this last year was his chance to really put a an exclamation point on that pick. The reason why they picked him at that spot. They thought he was good enough to be something. Now, keep in mind, this was also McDumdum's pick to take him too. So the regime last year was, they were saddled with him, just like now. I mean, he's a rookie still under the rookie contract. I mean, so getting rid of that's kind of a tough sell, because he's on the cheap. You got to find a spot for him where he's going to have an impact. Because right now, I don't see an impact from him at all. I don't think it's going to be this year either. I really don't.
I think he does make an impact, and I'm gonna push back on this too, because you said Kaylavon Chasen came in and he took that job away from Tyree Wilson, and he outperformed Tyree Wilson. But wait. Caleb Von Chasen was a first round pick also. Now, he might not have been 7th overall, but he was a first round pick. And he was also in his 3rd year that had been cut from 3 different teams that finally got in a system that was built for him where he can excel in a Patrick Graham system. That was his 4th year, I do believe, in the NFL that he finally started to take off. That's a first round draft pick that has failed over and over again. So, and Tyree was only in his 2nd year, which the 1st year was only a couple games, 5 or 6 games. So, yeah, I expected Caleb Von Chasen, and that's why they went and got Caleb Von Chasen, because he was a former first round pick. And, he had been cut from some teams and let go. And when they signed him, I was like, man, you're getting this guy that's, pretty much been a bust. The Carolina Panthers, one of the worst defenses in the NFL, is cutting him. But he came in, he found, fit in the right system and finally showed out. But it took him 4 years, man. We're expecting Tyree to do it in 1 full year. And last year he showed a lot more flashes. He showed a lot more flashes last year than he did the year he was hurt. This dude is mammoth. Like I said, they talked about his wingspan, his run game. If he can just get more pressure on the quarterback with his run pressure, Tyree Wilson is gonna be a problem. I'm just saying we're putting too much expectations on a guy that it's not his fault. The Raiders made a mistake drafting him where he did. Now, if he would have got drafted later on, maybe we would have had, a little bit more patience with this guy. But like I just said, Caleb Von Chasen, it took him 4 years to get with the Raiders. And we'll see what he does with the Patriots this year. Is he that same guy? Because he was pretty damn good for us. So, this year, yes, Tyree does need to step up. I get it. But if we're being truthful and honest, this is really only his 2nd year in the NFL. So if 6, 7, 8 sacks, like what is your expectations? I feel if he had 4 the first year, 5 the next year. If you go back and look at the history of defensive linemen don't get a lot of sacks. They get pressures, they stop the run, right? That's their job. Now, if he's on the edge, then your expectations go up a lot higher. Most of those guys, are averaging 10, 12, 8, 10, 12 sacks a year. So 5 is not going to cut it. But if you're on the defensive line and you're getting still, 5, 6 sacks, bro, like I'm good with that. I don't know. But so what do you feel is your expectation for Tyree, whether he's playing inside or outside? What do you think
he's
a good
inside?
number?
I don't think he's going to get any sacks. That's not what he's there for at that point. If he's playing inside, I'm still waiting for Max Crosby to get 15 plus sacks this season. That's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah,
I'm tired of like the
yeah.
1,000 QB pressures every season.
Yeah,
turn that shit into sacks.
QB pressures aren't shit if you ain't doing something with
sacks. Make it worth that contract we signed you to. I'm not shitting on Max, but it's like, yeah, QB pressures are great, but convert those into sacks, man.
I'm with you on that too. Like he's making.
I really don't think Tyree should be an end, so I'm really not expecting much from sacks from him at all this year.
See, I think he's gonna kill it on the inside if they actually put him in there at the 4 technique or the 3 technique and let him go, 1-on-1 with the guard. He's gonna destroy dudes. That dude is gonna kill it, and he shows he can. I've watched so much tape on this man on the inside. When he's on the inside, he's a problem. He's a handful. Why don't they don't keep doing it? Because they had Adam Butler that when Christian Wilkins got hurt, that they wanted to see if he could be that 3 down guy. So they're trying to get Adam Butler to be that 3 down guy. That doesn't leave many snaps for Tyree Wilson on the inside. And when Max is out there, you ain't getting none on that side, which they got him back in Malcolm Kuntz right now. So when Kuntz is out there, he gets more on that outside, but he's just, like I said, not an outside guy. So man, I feel on the inside, this dude could be a problem. I think he could still get 5, 6 sacks playing on the inside, which would be a huge, huge upgrade for this defense.
Like I said, if he's on the inside, I don't see a lot of sacks from him. Even on the outside, if he's playing at end, I don't see a lot. I don't see any more than 5 or 6, if that.
I mean, if he contributes that shit, I mean, for a 7th round pick, you can't be good with that. God and family, I appreciate you. $2 holler. Even a blind man can see that Tyree Wilson is a bum. All right, let me screenshot that because I can keep receipts. Yeah, we'll see, blind man. So I just don't feel that way, bro. I feel like y'all are sleeping on this kid. Like if Max Crosby says the things he says about this kid, Tyree Wilson, it's for a reason. Like he's not just out there tooting his horn because we drafted him seventh overall. Like this man, when he gets it all together, when he gets his technique down, he's gonna be a problem. And whether it's outside or inside, I mean, I don't know where all his sacks came, but I do believe I think most of them came on the inside last year, not on the outside. But I know he had like 5 or 6 that he should have had on the outside last year in the Cleveland game. He missed Deshaun Watson like 3 times, but Max Crosby does that too all the time. It's hard to tackle those sneaky, slimy quarterbacks that can move around. They can get small. They can duck completely down over these big, tall dudes. So it's hard to tackle those guys when you're 6'5", 280 pounds and you're running full speed. It's hard to stop on a dime. You're going to get juked from these guys. So the pressures that he got, I think last year really helped this team. And, our defense got better and better with the guys that we had out there. So I have, little slower expectations, but I have high hopes for this kid, man. I think he's gonna put it all together. And tomorrow I'm gonna break down some film that they showed. That I have some footage that I got. The kid looks good, man. He looks good. His technique looks good. His footwork, bro. His footwork is getting faster and faster and faster. Him running through those bags. A big man like that, 280 pounds, should not be lifting his feet that fast. I don't care. Like it's the kid is progressing, man. And with Robbie Leonard, as good as he is, I just see this. I see this kid surprising.
Everybody looks good in helmets and shorts. I mean, let's get into it when they start strapping on the pads and actually hitting and blocking for real, and game speed practices. I mean, that's when it's gonna. I'd rather see that footage. That's what I'm more worried about. I want to see that stuff. I don't take much from these mini practices, these mini camps that they're running right now. They're running around with helmets on. That's it. There's no hitting, they're not really pushing each other. It's all bag work and trying to work on the footwork. I get that part and everything, but I want to see when the pressure's on, like when someone's, purposely trying to stop him from coming in on the quarterback. Let's see how that looks. Let's see how he is against Glaze on the left side. Whoever else is playing right guard too. Let's see how they handle that. Let's see how he handles them. Can he get past can he get past the running block that's back there, pass protection blocking? That's what I want to see.
Yeah, and like I said, one full year is not enough to go off of for Tyree. Now he's back in camp. He's when the pads come on, you're gonna see this man. Like I'm guarantee you, when he hits people out there, they feel it. Like guys are getting up slow. They're like looking around like, damn, what the hell was that? In the run game, like I said, he was a big part of, if it wasn't for him, or should I say, if it wasn't for him, man, our run game would have been 10 times worse without Tyree Wilson. Like he stopped a lot of big plays. And I seen that big man chasing guys from behind. That Robert Spillane were missing tackles, that Divine Diablo were missing tackles, and he's coming up and catching guys from behind. There's plenty of I've seen at least 4 or 5 times last year. So the effort that he's given, it's all got to come together, and when it does, he's gonna be scary. I think he's gonna be very scary.
I mean, I hope so. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm rooting against the kid. It's just like it's gotta show up sometime. It's gotta be sooner than later, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so from for a defense, end and tackle playing both spots, which he gives you that too, the versatility. You don't have to keep a defensive tackle and a defensive end. You got one guy that can play every position on that defensive line. That's another huge aspect that a lot of these guys don't give us that we brought in. You can't put Tonka Hemingway.
Tyree allows us to have that.
Yeah,
Is that what you're
Tyree,
saying?
because he can play anywhere on the line. He can play the 3 technique, the 4 technique. He can play both both ends. He's played both positions. So if he has to, he can. Now, when Max Crosby got hurt, he took over for Max Crosby a lot. So he's played that side. His versatility to be able, if somebody does go down, to have him be able to fill in that role is another thing. Like I said, that Tonka Hemingway doesn't give you, JJ Pegues doesn't give you, Adam Butler, doesn't give you. You can't move these guys to the outside. So I think just that is another big part that, is going to keep this guy. I don't see him going nowhere. All the trade talks, all the rumors and shit. I don't know if he'll get an extension, but if he plays this year like I think he does, and next year, I can see him being with the Raiders for a while. Robbie Leonard really likes this guy. Patrick Graham really likes this guy. It's the impatient Raider Nation, I feel, that really hates on this dude the most. And I know, again, he was a 7th round pick, so the expectations should be high. But my guy LVR says Wilson had 5 sacks, 37 pressures, 20 run stops, and 525 snaps. That's, what more can you ask for? I don't know. Like to Max Crosby, I don't think he had 37 pressures. I think he had 6 or 7 sacks last year. Not too many more pressures. And probably the same amount of snaps, because he plays, 80 snaps a game. So in, 3-4 games, that's shit. You're looking pretty close to 525. So, that's decent numbers from a guy that missed his whole entire rookie year. No training camp, no nothing. Couldn't even walk, right? Was in a boot, couldn't do nothing, and no exercise, no nothing. And then when Chandler Jones goes down, this man stepped up and, also helped Malcolm Kuntz out a lot, because he took the pressure off of Malcolm Kuntz from having to come in and just, play every snap at that position. So I think Tyree Wilson is a lot more versatile than what we're giving him credit for, and it means a lot more to this team than we think. Wilson only had 4 starts in 16 games. Now that I'm going to argue 4 starts in 16 games is drafted 7th round last year. I agree with Jeff at that point. You should be making, enough flashes in camp, in practice, but if you don't do it, I guess I got to digress on that. If you don't do it in camp, you don't really have the chance in practice, right? In practice, these guys are putting pads on maybe once in the week, right? Sometimes not even putting pads on. They do a walkthrough, they do short pads. So whereas, once the season starts, you don't really have much time in practice to stand out. It's mainly walkthroughs, meetings, and, very, very little physical contact. And once the season starts, so you're not going to make noise to take over that spot, to get more snaps, to get more reps. You have to do it on the little tiny bit of snaps you got. And if your defensive line struggles, if the linebackers behind you struggle, if your corners struggle, when you're in there, you're not going to produce. It's a team sport. You got to have, everybody. If they're just going to double team you because you're huge, Tyree Wilson has no chance, no chance at double team. I still had all those numbers in coaching. Let's get into some of these.
Well, he just said what? He still had those numbers in its coaching. It's the same coach he had his entire career with the Raiders. He's had Patrick Graham and Rob Leonard the whole time. So
I'm saying, head coaching though,
this year? Same coach on the defense.
Head coaching wise, run game coordinator wise, last year, the run game coordinator was Mike Caldwell, which I thought our run defense was absolutely horrible, right? That wasn't Patrick Graham. A lot of people put that on Patrick Graham and say Patrick Graham can't stop the run. And I do myself sometimes, get caught up in that.
Well, they're going to say that because he's the defensive coordinator. So ultimately it falls on him.
Yeah, it all falls on him. But you also have, one guy that puts together your run game package. He, puts together the packages that are put, in the week plan. for the defense. So if it's, yes, maybe Patrick Graham thinks, all right, this will work, or, maybe with all the shit he has, he doesn't have time to, go over it and check every little thing that he's doing. He just has to implement it in a system in practice. And if he sees week 1 or 2 it's not working, it's a little, day 2 or day 1 or 2 in practice for the week or to the team you're playing. You don't have many days to change it, right? So I think that's a problem. I thought our run defensive coordinator last year and Mike Caldwell, which I think was our linebacker coach as well, it was bad both tackling from the linebackers and the coordination in the run game. It looked like we had guys out of position, guys that didn't know what they were doing, guys that were better at tackle, stopping the run, like a Tyree Wilson that was playing the edge. I think this year is going to be different. We have Robbie Leonard as the run game coordinator. Robbie Leonard knows Tyree Wilson's strengths on the run game. I think that's going to be huge for Tyree Wilson this year. I think it's going to be huge for our defense. Is Robbie Leonard, I thought, should have been, probably implemented in that role a little bit earlier. It's his 4th year with the Raiders, give him a little bit more role. So the run game coordinator is mainly, knowing your defensive line strength, and nobody knows the defensive line strengths better than Robbie Leonard. So I think that's going to be a huge aspect this year also for our defense, for, like I said, for Tyree Wilson, because he knows his strengths on the defensive line.
See, I don't know if I'm going to come off like a dick, but, it's still ultimately the defensive coordinator's fault, though. It's his responsibility as the overall coordinator. If there's something not working right with the personnel you got, something needs to be changed, and that's the coordinator's job, Patrick Graham, in order to say, hey, by the way, this system that you're implementing ain't working. We need to do something. You can't just pass the blame on, like overlook that it's Patrick Graham has nothing to do with this. I mean, it's ultimately his defense. He has to make sure that he's got the right personnel out there for what they want to run. I just shut up, Bruno. I just. So Patrick Graham's got some blame in all this.
I agree
has
100%.
the first blame because he's the coordinator and not making the changes. Put that in any other aspect of any type of business or job, it's the same thing. You have a general manager in the job position. Say that's you. You have me. I'm a team manager. If I'm presenting something to you and it's not working right, well, you as the overall general manager have to get on my ass to get it fixed, or you got to get rid of me, put someone else in that position that's going to come up with something better to get my team to work better, to be more productive and gain, get to that goal that we need to get at.
I get you.
That really does fall on Patrick Graham.
But
you can't just pass the blame off on one guy.
No, for sure.
It's your defense, dude.
Yeah, it's his shit. He's running it. But, in Graham's defense, and I'm not trying to defend him because, I say that shit a lot also. But you got to also look at Patrick Graham wasn't the one that hired Mike Caldwell as a defensive coordinator. That was AP. So does Patrick Graham go to AP and say, or did he? Maybe he did go and say, yo, this guy's not working out. And, maybe AP's like, come on, man, I already fired the offensive coordinator. I already fired the quarterback coach, the O-line coach. Like, how many guys do you want me to fire in a season before I look like an absolute idiot with everybody I brought in getting fired in the first couple of weeks, So you got to look at that too. Maybe AP was like, nah, we're going to have to make it work. Or maybe they just kept trying to change it all year around and it just never clicked for those guys. So, you can't put it all on Patrick Graham. When you have other guys, like I said, you have a wide receiver coach or a defensive back coach, they're also coordinating how they want their safeties to play. They all work together. So, at that point, maybe it took them a couple games to figure out, okay, our run defense ain't working. This, what you're trying to do is not working. And at that point they had already started firing guys and they're like, man, we can't just clean house and get rid of everybody. There could be that aspect.
Why not? Season was a wash already at that point. Why not?
Well, because when you're the head coach,
they should have probably fired AP at that point too.
Yeah, I agree.
House.
When you're when you're the head coach and you're trying to keep your job for the next year, you don't, like I said, you don't want to just look like a complete idiot right off the rip and start firing everybody that you brought in, because it was him and Tom Telesco that made those decisions. Now I don't know who brought in who, but they had to agree on them. So, and another thing, it couldn't have been AP. It could have been AP saying, "Hey, Mike Caldwell's not working," and Tom Telesco being like, "That's my guy I brought in, and I don't want to look bad firing him." So, shit runs downhill. To put it on, just on Patrick Graham, which, like I said, I do a lot. I might have to digress on some of those. It's not always his system, but in everywhere he's went, his run defense has been, not up to par, right? It's been mediocre or worse. So there is that part of it too. And I don't think he's had the same run defensive coordinator everywhere. So, he's got to, maybe I'm hoping with Pete Carroll, they're going to change some things. Maybe Pete, like he said, if you watch the presser today, he said, he's a sponge, which Patrick Graham, for all the knowledge, all the experience he has in the NFL on defense, like you said, he's probably forgot, more than a lot of us know. For that guy to say he's being a sponge and taking in everything Pete Carroll is saying, and he even iterated a couple, times that my 2 cents was good. He even iterated a couple times that, Pete Carroll's going to implement things into this defense that's going to help him, right? That's going to help him grow. That's going to help his run defense. That's going to help a lot of things. And I think all that's gonna flow together. But I'm just hoping. I'm just hoping run defense is better, Tyree's better, because if he's better, the team's better. And if our run defense is better, I mean, that goes a long way. We gave up way too many yards last year on the ground.
Can you put up LVR Live's last thing he just put on where it says this is a delayed response? It's about Max stats from last year. Just came in like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, I think I found it. Yeah, I got you.
So this is where I give my pushback on this too. The difference between, saying, yeah, look what Tyree did last year. You also realize that this also was with Max on the opposite side of the field, and they felt as though Tyree was still not a threat. So, yeah, he probably got more run stops or he got more pressures because they ain't double teaming him. All right. There were a lot of times where he wasn't even blocked, whereas Max is still getting double teamed, because they just know that Tyree's not the threat that Max is. So, yeah, the double team in Max. So he's not going to get as many sacks. With Kuntz back this year, I'll tell you right now, they ain't going to be double teaming him as much. If Kuntz comes back and he starts off like he was for those 8 games that he was a superstar for us, you're going to see Max in a lot more single coverage. They're not going to be doubling up on him more than likely. And you should hopefully see better numbers from him this year. You should see better numbers from both, actually, from him and Kuntz.
With the money he's getting paid, you got to see better numbers from him. When you're getting paid the top defensive end, in the league, or second best, whatever it is, and one of the highest paid players in the NFL, and your best season was 14.5 sacks, like that's
and definitely with the run stops too. That just means they're not running towards him as much more than likely. They're running towards Tyree's side because guess what? They know he's the weak link. Of course they do.
Well,
everybody knows he hasn't panned out to what he was supposed to be. So yeah, we're going to run towards him. Why would you want to run towards Max? And Max missed, I think, 2 or 3 sacks in that game with Tampa Bay because of Baker Mayfield. He's a wiry little bastard. Watching that game, I could see how frustrated Max was because he just could not get a hand on him. He was so close, like he was grabbing him by a thread. And like one more step, and he would have had him at least 3 times in that backfield.
He also swatted down an interception that he had right in his hands, and he played tight end.
Yeah. But you could see the frustration on him in that game. Yeah. I mean, so that would have brought him up to 10.5 sacks, basically, if he would have gotten those 2 or 3.
So I mean, but when you look at those numbers, bro, from I get what he's saying 100%. Like this dude played 97% of the snaps. He had 7.5 sacks with 54 pressures. Tyree Wilson with 50% of the snaps at 520 something snaps had 37 pressures. Now, you can call it double team, yeah, you're going to get double teams. That's part of it. But I seen a lot last year where Max Crosby wasn't getting double teamed. There was a lot of teams that decided to play him one-on-one just because of that aspect, because they know that he gets a lot of pressures and, runs by a lot of guys or misses a lot of tackles. Guys let him beat him and then, come just push him past the quarterback. It happens an awful lot. So for that, I think those numbers are huge. 27 run stops. Max Crosby, if you look at his run stops, I think there's a highlight reel that has Max Crosby's runs. Probably 80% of those are him tackling guys from behind.
Because he's running them down as they're going to the right side.
That's chasing guys down. So they're not running at him, that's for sure. But Tyree Wilson's are too. A lot of his are, him chasing guys from behind, him getting through the hole and catching guys before they get to that next level. So just it's going to be a problem, man. I think all these guys are going to be a problem. I think Tyree is bound to take that next leap, right? It's only the second year now. You got a whole, another little OTA or camp, and then you got preseason. He's going to get a lot of snaps, and I hope that it's going to be on the inside, because if you have Max Crosby, if you have Charles Snowden, if you have Jafari Harvey, that I believe is going to make this team, and then on the other side you have Malcolm Kuntz, you have Tyree Wilson maybe, and then you have a guy like Ja Joyner. Why not put Tyree Wilson on the inside when you have no Malcolm Kuntz and no Adam Butler right now? It just makes a lot of sense to me to give these guys all the reps he can get on the inside, just in case, right?
All I know is if our secondary guys have the most tackles on the team overall, then we've got a problem. That's where the issue is too. That means they're getting past the first level and the second level, and they're making it into the secondary, which is bad. So if you have corners that got the most tackles on the team overall, that's a problem.
It's a huge problem. Like Alex says right here, Hendricks had 18 sacks last year.
Yeah, and who plays opposite of him? No big name guy. That's just I think with him it's just pure talent and people not respecting him.
Well, that makes it worse having
how good that kid is. That kid is amazing.
But doesn't that make it worse having no talent on the other side? That means they can double team you more when you don't have that.
So apparently they don't.
that figure on the other side. So they only have he's pretty much their best guy, and I don't think they have another guy to get
not even close to his caliber. Hell no.
So 18 sacks, bro. That's a big difference between Max Crosby's highest year, 14 and a half.
They're paid almost 5 sack difference.
Yeah. It's a big difference. Now you got to throw in Mesher and Max. And this is one thing that I talk about all the time is these guys that have 18 sacks, that have, 16 sacks are playing 80% of the snaps. Max Crosby's playing 97% of the snaps. You should have double these guys. You should have at least 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 more sacks than everybody in the NFL, because you're playing 20% more of the snaps every single game. How can you play 20% more of the snaps every single game and have less sacks than everybody? That doesn't make sense. So I think, guys want to act like Max Crosby, and I love him, dude. I some people, he's their favorite player. To me, he's not, right? He does a lot for this team. He's the motor for this team. But I think there's a lot of ways where, there's some areas that it doesn't help us, right? It doesn't help us. The attention Max gets, the limelight that he's always put in. When, like I said about Derek Carr, everybody talks shit about DC. What has he done? What did he take us to? Max Crosby's been on this team going on 8 years, If you want to look at it as one player, as an edge rusher or a quarterback that runs the offense, what is Max Crosby done? figuratively speaking, when did we be in the top 20s or the top 10 defensive wise? That's his group, right? That's his job to get those guys to play at that level, just like your quarterback is that guy to get your guys to play at that level to run the offense, in my opinion, right? Defensive edge is the most, is the biggest spot, the highest paid spot on the defensive side. So, we talk shit on Tyree. We talk shit on all these guys on the team that are out there, giving just as much effort. But for a guy to have, that much more snaps than everybody else, and yes, you're getting double teamed, but this year it's going to be different, right? We got Malcolm
And
Cruz back.
he's still stat wise middle of the road defensive end based on overall rankings in the defensive end category.
Well, yeah,
what
because of
him up all the
pressures,
time
he gets more pressures.
That's what gets him the number one, that top tier status. Turn those into sacks.
Yeah,
hey, I had some pushback on some of my takes earlier this season or earlier this year before the draft. I was told before he got the extension, I was totally in favor of trading him away. If somebody calling for him and say, hey, what's it, what would it take for us to get Max from you? Guess what? You're going to pay through the nose for him if you want him. We're going to give him up, but we're going to get 2 first-round picks, one this year, one next year, and your second at least. We're going to get some serious draft capital out of that. That's my take on it. Yeah. I would have been fine with trading him away because we could have done some damage this season in the draft if we had 2 first-round picks, especially if they were at least in the top 10 or in the the from 10 on even. We could have gotten a defensive player to replace him. Yeah, they wouldn't have been as good as him right now. They wouldn't be like the max level that everybody expects. Who knows? They could have been better.
Right? I just thought of something also that I should have probably talked about a long time ago. Is if we want to get technical, compare this year and next year, which is really Tyree Wilson's first year and second year, technically with all the injuries the first year, to Max Crosby's first and second year. Where was Max Crosby at tackle wise? Where was Max? He was still playing, the most snaps on the team. But where was he at, right? Where was he in his first year, right? Second year. It took him to, like I said, going to rehab, toning in his craft, wanting to be that guy and changing everything. It was 3 years before Max hit that, that flip switch flipped, and he was like, okay, I could dominate this shit. I just have to change some things before I'm that dude. So, but
don't forget though, again, he wasn't expected to come in and be a superstar. We weren't. Look at where he was drafted. He was drafted way late in the draft.
Yeah,
we got lucky with that one type of thing. Just like the Patriots got lucky drafting Brady in the 6th round, and the 49ers got lucky with drafting Purdy as, Mr. Irrelevable that year. It happens where you find these gems later on. Look at Terrell Davis, where he went 6th round, Hall of Fame running back, won Super Bowl.
Terrell Davis was a UDFA.
Yeah, well, yeah, there you go.
Undrafted, yeah.
You get those gems every now and then. Crosby's one of those because we picked him so late in the draft, and look what he's turned into. Where you could have gotten a 1st-round pick easily for him.
I feel like this. I hear a lot of content creators. I hear a lot of people. I hear a lot of fans say nobody is bigger than the Shield. I disagree. Max Crosby right now is bigger than the Shield. I feel like all the focus is on Max. They always talk about Max this. Max is, Max in the locker room.
He's the icon of the team right now. That's the thing.
So he's the man. But he's got his podcast. He's got interviews constantly. Now he's got a clothing line coming out. He's trying to manage a college team. Like, come on, man. Like, this dude has a lot of shit going on right now. And, I feel like a lot of people, some people try to, put him like he's bigger than the Shield, right? It's all Max, when really, if you look at it, like I said, the amount of snaps that he's out there, the production is not that great for the snaps he's out there. Now, if you put him out there 80% of the snaps, does he still have the same production? That is a huge question.
Well, I think that was probably going to be the goal this year too, is to have a rotational setup where they could give him some rest, so he doesn't have to be out there for 97 to 100% of the snaps. Since he's been with this team, he's played in the 90 percentile of snaps every season. You can't keep doing that, especially now. He's getting older. He's going to start taking some more hits. The injuries are going to start to pile up now. It's inevitable when you play that many snaps as a defensive end. Shit's going to start catching up to you now. He needs that break. He can't be out there every down on defense.
Yeah.
He needs to be in a rotation every now and then. Take him out for a few plays. You got to.
You got to rest.
You got to around for the length of that contract. You have to.
And and Max Crosby's defense is I know for a fact that he wants to be the best. He wants to be that Hall of Famer. But I believe getting this team to the playoffs and the Super Bowl means way more to him than any stats that he's going to have. I think he wants to be Defensive Player of the Year. He wants all those accolades. But I think winning a championship means more to him than his sack total, right?
Well, if he wants to get to the Hall, winning the Super Bowl is going to propel him to that.
Or at least I'm hoping.
Just having great stats isn't going to do it.
But
it's just not going to happen that way,
right? So I'm not bueno says, but it's sad that Crosby got injured and didn't play a full season and still had more productivity than Wilson. But he had 750 something snaps to Tyree's 525. He had 220 something more snaps, and the production wasn't 220 something more snaps worthy.
And he missed how many games at the end? 2 games, and that's with him not playing in 2 games. Actually, more than that, because he was out for the Cleveland game too.
He missed 1 game, and then he missed the last 4 or 6.
So think about that. Think of how many games he didn't actually play where he got 0 stats.
But snap wise, but if you look at the
snaps, did what he did in that time frame.
Yeah, but you're looking at the snaps. That's 750 something snaps in that little bit of playtime because he plays 98% of the snaps out there. Like I said, the other guys, TJ Watt, even I think TJ Watt, the most snaps he's played in a season is like 80 something, 87 or 88. That's 10% more snaps, bro. If you're playing, 60, if you're getting 60 snaps, 50 snaps a game on defense, which our offense was a lot of 3 and out. So they were probably getting close to 60 or 70 snaps on defense, which is crazy. If you're talking 10% of that, bro, that's 7 more plays. That's 7 more attempts you get. If you're a free throw shooter or a 3-point shooter, if you get 7 more attempts than everybody else and your percentage isn't better, there's something wrong, right? If you're a baseball player and you're getting 7 more attempts at bat than everybody else in a game and your percentage ain't way more, something's wrong.
I mean, we've just spent 40, almost 50 minutes talking about Tyree and Max. All right. Sweet. And this just proves my point. It's like we're still talking about what Tyree can do, has done, hasn't done in those 3 years. Last year would have been the year for him to really step up, plain and simple, and he didn't. I'm sorry. Yeah, he's got those stats that he did in that amount of snaps. But why wasn't he out there? Why did we have to bring in a guy like Chase on to put him in on the left side instead of Tyree being there?
Well, because at the time we had no depth. When Malcolm went out and when Max Crosby went out, there was nobody to back up the Max Crosby side. He was the lone guy on that side. We had 3 guys on the right side. It was Snowden, it was Tyree, and it was Malcolm Kuntz. Malcolm Kuntz went out. It was only Tyree and Snowden, and that was it. That was the only 2 guys we had. We didn't have nobody on defensive line in training camp in training camp on the practice squad. That was it. So they had to bring in, there was no depth. It was basically 3 guys trying to play, or 2 guys trying to play the end spot. And you can't do that in the NFL. Like you can't expect Tyree Wilson to play 98% of the snaps like Max Crosby. That would be crazy. So they didn't have a choice but to bring in Caleb Von Chase. And it got to that point once Max went down is we had somebody else on the practice squad. Who was that? they had somebody on the practice squad, but I believe they cut him because he wasn't cutting it, and then they went and got Caleb Von Chasen. So yeah, that was a depth issue. We just didn't have the depth, and then
We
Caleb
don't
Von
have depth on
Chasen,
any spot in the defense. I mean,
yeah, last
there were
year
guys
for sure.
playing out of position, guys playing positions that they shouldn't have. The secondary was in shambles because of all the injuries. The whole linebackers were an issue. Devon Diablo was horrible as usual. This team was in just such disarray last season, and I'm just glad that's past us now. We've got adults running things now. There's no more daycare here.
Yeah, I agree with that 1,000%. There's a new staff, a new season, and everyone deserves a fresh start.
I mean,
And
I felt good going into last season based on how the 2023 season ended. I thought we were going to be in a better place, but then the whole Minshew coming in, and then him starting over AOC 12. I mean, I'm still a big fan of AOC 12. I still think he's got a spot somewhere here. I really do.
oh, he's
Does
not.
he have a
He's
chance
the
to push
backup.
Gino? I think so. I really do. I know people
He's
think
gonna.
I'm fucking crazy, but I really think he's good.
No,
He could
I
push
agree
him.
with
You
you.
never know.
I
He
agree with
looks
you
different
100%.
this year. He looks more relaxed.
Both coaches have said it. Chip Kelly iterated to it. He said, Gino makes everybody better, but he also said, Aiden is a very smart quarterback that helps Gino and helps everybody on the team. Learn plays and get shit. They both said, he picks up stuff really, really fast. He's been in, 3 head coaches, 5 offensive coordinators now, 5 different quarterback coaches, and the kid doesn't miss a beat. It's like he's been in the system for a long time. Even Greg Olson said, he spoke very highly of Aiden O'Connell. Said,
And people still shit on him.
yeah, he
They're
said this
like,
kid
oh,
is,
we've seen
he said this
17
kid is
games from
very
him.
accurate.
Yeah, you've seen 17 games from him over 2 seasons with multiple head coaches, multiple, like you said, multiple offensive coordinators, no running back room whatsoever last season. It was atrocious. Offensive line banged up. You lose one of his best receivers, and Devontae Adams is gone. So now he's down to Brock and Jacoby Myers, who we all know Jacoby wasn't a bona fide number 1, but was forced into that last year and did a hell of a job picking the slack up with no Devontae. So you can't sit here and say you've seen enough from him. I want to see that with the same coach all season long, both on the offensive line being better. Now that you've got a running game, my God, it's so much better. It's going to be so much better.
Yeah, it's definitely it's gonna be night and day. But we just gotta see what, again, in those pressure situations. I just hope we have a good enough offense and a good enough defense that we can come out every game, which is asking a lot, but come out every game, take the lead early and keep the lead most of the game. We're gonna lose some, but I feel like a lot of games, if we could just get out on top with the defense, with the explosive offense we have, if we have to, be a shootout, we can do that. If we have to, run the clock and milk the clock in the running game, we can do that. If we have to be methodical and mix it up, we can do that. If we have to rely on Brock Bowers for a whole entire game, we can do that. If we have to rely on Jacoby Myers, or Jack Beck, or Dante Thornton for a whole game, because teams are going to focus more on Brock Bowers and they're going to stack the box, and we have to rely on Thornton and these guys to, beat them over the top and stretch the field. I think we can do that. So we're going to be dangerous, man. I think there's a reason a lot of people, a lot of ESPN, NFL, all these guys have been saying, the Raiders are a scary team this year. They're the most improved. You know what they were saying about Washington last year? They're a scary team. They're the most improved. You know what they were saying about Houston Texans 2 years ago? I think
Same
they
thing.
were the most improved team. They were a scary team. So there's a reason all these people are talking about it. They feel it. They feel the culture change. They feel the momentum shift. They feel we plugged a lot of holes on this ship, and it's just going to continue to get better and better and better, I hope. And but a lot of people feel that. They see the progress in the building. They see the quarterback we brought in. They see the running, drafting a running back 6th overall when everybody said, bro, that's a luxury pick. You can't do that. The Raiders can't afford to do that. Yeah. Well, I think they're going to prove them wrong on that also. But Kuntz wasn't a first round pick overall. No, Kuntz was drafted 3rd, I think, overall. But also with Malcolm Kuntz, Malcolm Kuntz drafted 3rd overall. It took him 3 years and almost a whole entire season before he had 8 sacks in 9 games. But why did he have 8 sacks in those 9 games? Because the rest of the defense came on, right? Well, because he got more reps, he got more snaps. That's the main reason. So, until Tyree has somebody that goes down in front of him where he is that main guy, where he has to be out there 70-80% of the snaps, like Kuntz was, right? Kuntz was forced into that position when Chandler Jones and all that shit happened. Whatever flipped out on Basalt or whatever the hell dude was doing, but flew over to Kuko's nest. I don't know what the hell happened, but shout out to Chandler Jones, man. I hope he's doing good, and I hope he got shit back together because that was wild for a minute. But, Malcolm Kuntz, too. It was his 3rd year. His 3rd year, right? This is Tyree Wilson's what? Everybody type it in the chat. Come on. 3rd year. So if he doesn't do it this year, then I expect everybody to be on his ass. I expect everybody to criticize him. I just didn't expect it to be so early, with the situation, with the injuries. I just didn't expect him to get this much heat with the, the production he's had. It hasn't been great, but it's been enough for 500 snaps. Now, again, LVR, if you're still in here, if you throw up the guy everybody said we should have drafted in front of him, that we should have took that was on the board, and Jalen Carter, right? If you look at Jalen Carter's snaps and his sacks, he has 5 snaps, I believe, or 5 sacks, I believe. He had like 10 more pressures, and he was horrible in the run game. He had like 2 run stops, and he had 300 more snaps. He had the same amount of snaps as Max Crosby.
That's but also don't forget he didn't have to be that superstar with that team because that defense was just stacked. I mean, it's all Georgia. The whole front defensive line is pretty much all Georgia from the championship team there. You don't have to be. I mean, he didn't have to be that standout guy. We had 2 guys. We have 2 guys. We have an end in Crosby, and then Ed Wilkinson. He got hurt. So now you need that one other person. I mean, in Philly, I mean, they have a loaded team. And the way they draft and the way they do things in Philly is just phenomenal how they've been able to put shit together. All right. So their defense alone is just insane. So he didn't have to be that standout guy to be effective. And he's extremely effective out there for Philly. He had a great Super Bowl. That's the game that counts the most.
Yeah, I agree with that. He didn't have to be that guy, but with that being, Tyree doesn't have to be that guy either. He has guys in front of him, and he doesn't have to be that guy is why he's only got 525 snaps. So the fact that, Jalen Carter doesn't have to be that guy where he was drafted, 2 picks later, I think, after Tyree Wilson,
yeah,
that's
like 10 or 9 or something.
Yeah, you're drafted like a couple picks difference. We're talking, shit, we're talking inches here. It's not a lot, right? Where you're drafted in the production. When you have 300 more snaps, it doesn't matter if you're that guy or if you have to be that guy. The thing is that he was out there 300 more snaps than Tyree, and his production wasn't.
But he's also played 3 full seasons too. He's been out there for 3 seasons.
And
two. This is being his 3rd.
Yeah,
his second season with the team, he wins the Super Bowl, and
you take that
reason they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and that's another good point. He was out there his whole rookie year. He was out there his 2nd year, and
I agree, Dixon.
So the fact that your shit's not with the top guy.
We need to put a time limit on Tyree talk.
On Tyree talk.
Yeah.
What y'all want to talk about?
Yeah. Hey, talk
He
about
had
beating
10
a
sacks.
dead
That's
horse,
what
man.
the whole
That
chat
horse
is.
has been turned into glue right now. We've been beating it so hard.
Hey, we need to do something like shit. Maybe to light a fire under somebody's ass. Compare the career stats. All right, so I just won't read the chat because everything's about Tyree Wilson. Let's go to another
Yeah,
subject.
pretty much it is. He's got
Funny
counter
how people
stats
hate
up.
on Tyree,
LVR's got him up.
right? Said what?
He's got Carter's stats up that you asked him for.
All right, how far back is that?
It's like the third,
Sweet.
yeah, there it is.
Yeah, so Carter had more snaps than Max Crosby or Wilson, 831 snaps. He had snaps for 5 sacks, 53 pressures, which Tyree Wilson had 27, so that's almost double. 27 run stops, which Tyree had the same, and 306 more snaps, bro. And people are saying we should have drafted Jalen Carter because he's won a championship, because he plays with Philly that has one of the best linebacking cores, one of the best safety rooms, one of the best corner rooms. They have the best players behind them, is which why they won a Super Bowl consistently with one of the best defensive coordinators in my mind in all time in Philly. That dude's, how many Super Bowls and playoff wins, championships has that dude played in? So you got to take that for consideration also. So the fact that those numbers with 831 snaps, the only difference I see is he's got 53 pressures compared to Tyree Wilson's 27 and 306 more snaps. That there should be no more talk about Tyree Wilson with that right there. I mean, that should end the conversation. Jalen Carter is not much better than Tyree Wilson. I'm telling y'all, like, he plays his spot consistently for 2 years. Give Tyree another year. Man. This guy is going to be dominant. And the fact that Tyree Wilson hasn't been able to focus just at the 2 technique, just at the 1 technique. Carter plays, I think, the 1 technique pretty much dominantly, or the 2 technique. I think they run four guys, right? So he plays, the 2 or 3 technique pretty much the whole game. That's where he practices at. That's where he focuses at. Tyree's getting moved around from left end to right end, to the 2-4 technique, to the 3 technique. Sometimes he's at the 2 technique. This guy doesn't have time to hone in at just one position also. But all right, I'm done with that. Done with Tyree shit.
But also, just real quick, don't forget, they play 2 different positions too. So you're talking about defensive tackle versus defensive end. So as a defensive tackle with those type of stats, I think that's impressive for a defensive tackle.
Yeah,
and he's got a good supporting cast around him too. So that,
and I don't know. Too. I'm not positive what the difference is between Tyree Wilson's snaps, if I could figure that out, or LVR. If you could figure out how many snaps, he played at the end position and how many snaps was, at the defensive line, that would also make a big difference. But did you watch the interview with E-Rob, Landon Roberts?
The one today?
Yeah.
No.
So,
I was doing a million other things today. I spent most of my day on the phone, text messages, and I just took over a black hole chapter here in New England. So I'm now the president of that. So I just had a lot of communication today with the members in that chapter today. So I was like super, super busy. That's part of the reason why we didn't do a Raider Connection show tonight. Everybody else other than Jay was MIA today. So we just decided, fuck it, we're not going to do it.
Right on. Well, shit, glad you can come over.
We'll
here.
Be back next
minutes. What's good? Yeah, it's been a minute since we did a show. I think I was one of the first people you did a show with, right? When you were first starting out. And I don't think we've been on since, really.
No.
Somebody is predicting Tyree to have 11 sacks, 2 forced fumble recoveries. Homie is tweaking hard. That's if he has 11 sacks, bro, I'll be ecstatic, dude. And I'll be the only motherfucker on YouTube that had Tyree Wilson's back and said he could be that dude. So I'm going to talk the hell out of my shit. So go ahead, Tyree Wilson. Get me 11, baby. Let's go. But yeah, shit. If he gets 11, we're going to the playoffs, dude. There's no doubt about it. If you get 11 from Tyree Wilson, whoo, come on with Koontz and Malcolm and Max out there. Damn, bro, that would be insane. Um, so yeah, something I was gonna talk about before I pulled Jeff up. Jeremy Chin injured a little bit. He missed, I don't know, I think they said the whole week or maybe just a day or two, but he's missed the last couple of practices. I didn't know. That's a concern to me. That's a big concern. He was back today. But
what was the injury?
Huh?
I missed that. What was the injury? I missed that.
I don't know if it was injury or if he just, took a day or two off because, it's not mandatory. He might have just said, damn, I've been working too hard or whatever. I don't know. So they haven't it's like the Adam Butler thing. They haven't really said why Adam Butler hasn't been out there in the last 2 weeks. Like, I really want to know why he's not out there. But it's not mandatory. So they don't have to be there. They could just, he might have overworked himself or got a little hot, out there in the sun in Vegas. It could be a lot of things. Maybe he just, tweaked something or wanted to stay off of it for a minute. So I hope it's not a big injury because he came back to practice today and got cooked for a touchdown by Jacoby Myers. So I hope it's not an injury. I hope it's not something that's slowing him down because he's way faster than Jacoby. How you get cooked by Jacoby Myers? I want to know. So I don't have any film. That's just what I heard. It's just somebody in my ear. But that makes me question another concern I have. If something happens to Jeremy Chin back there, that changes the dynamic of everything for this defense, right? We got to move Palomao back to that spot. We got to find somebody to take the free safety spot. We got to find somebody to take to cover that nickel slot corner, position, because I think Jeremy Chin's going to be playing a lot of that for some reason. I think he's going to be that dude constantly, up close in the box.
Yeah.
Which is going to make him scary. But so hopefully it's, it's nothing big, but the fact that the offense is coming out and, smoking guys is a good sign. It's a good sign for Geno. It's a good sign for Jacoby Myers. But what I didn't understand is if it was Jacoby Myers and Geno, why was Jeremy Chin out there, right? Isn't he on the first team defense? Wouldn't it be second team defense playing the first team offense? So that's another thing that I have a question about, kind of questions and a little bit of concerns about, like what's going on with that. So just when you think everything's going good, of course, Raiders always have a little bit of info to just put a little bit of doubt and question mark.
Well, what do they got? What do they got? One more week of OTAs or minis, and then they take a break, and then they come back in July, right?
I think we have
1 more week left.
What's today? The 5th?
Yeah.
I think today or tomorrow was the last day, and I think
we have the 5th now because it's after midnight. So yeah.
Yes. So so I think we have. I think today, or for you it'd be today, but tomorrow for me, I think is the last day, and then we have till June 10th or some shit. So we have like another 5 days off, I think, or little 5-day break period before they come back for mandatory OTAs, I believe.
Yeah,
and then they have another.
The official training camp doesn't open up until I think like around the 20th, 22nd, something like that of July.
Yeah, so maybe it's July 10th they're off till. I'll have to look that up.
I think they take like that summer break.
Let me look this up. Yeah, because I had it saved on my computer, but I don't know where the hell it went. But yeah, I believe it's today or tomorrow is the last day, and then they have a significant amount of time off before they come back for a mandatory camp. Which I think that's mandatory camp is when the pads come on, right? That's
full kick ass. That's where it's going to start to matter. That's what I want to see. I want to see that stuff. That's what I'm waiting for. Then I'll have a better feeling on or better takes on things. Basically, that's like I said, I don't get excited for these mini camps because if anything, you're looking at the mechanics and footwork. That's about it. I'm not going to get excited for a defensive end or a tackle doing this, doing that.
Yeah, you can't do shit without pads.
No, I mean that's all for nothing. They're not going to start hitting each other with no pads on. They're only going to fuck each other up. Let's put it this way: when they start wearing the brain skulls on the outside of the helmets, that's when the shit gets real. Because they ain't wearing those right now because they're just running around, going through the motions and shit. Once they put the brain bucket covers on, that's different. Now we're in the shit.
Damn, Rosetown says, I think AOC is a top 3 backup QB right now. That's high praise, but this kid's he's just gonna get better. Y'all know how I feel about AOC. I've been the day one fist pumper advocate for AOC in training camp. I have all the
faith in the world in the kid. I really do. I'm right there with you on AOC. You know that.
In training camp his rookie year, I was like, man, this kid just has a decent release. He's very very decisive when he gets to the line. He knows what the defense is going to do, and he knows, my first option already ain't going to be open on this read, and he don't even look that way sometimes. He'll go straight to a second or third read. So I like that about the kid. I think, the sky's the limit. You just gotta get opportunity, but you can't get opportunity because the team is ass. You can't get opportunity because, the team is bad and has no running game, and the other quarterback's throwing, 15 interceptions a game. Like, that can't be the reason you get the opportunity. It has to be opportunity because they believe in you and they're going to build a system to fit your strengths. And until that happens, it's going to be hard for him. But, I really feel like if somebody takes the time to just put him in an offense, and we seen it a little bit flashes with Bo Hardegree, and we seen it with the Turners, Norv and Scott Turner, that they had the kid throwing 40 plus times a game, right? Yeah. You're throwing 40 plus times a game with no interceptions it's not very heard of in the NFL. Like, hate on them all you want, bro. There's not too many guys in the NFL that throw 40 plus times a game and don't turn the ball over. Like, that's saying a lot. So trying to get into all these chats. How they go so fast? I thought I was caught up. You're having
it's because Candy and Joanna were chatting up a massive storm in here, and it zipped right through everything. Now Bueno's fighting with her.
93 days till Patriot game.
Yeah, dude, I'm excited for that. We got some big things coming down the pipe for that day, for that game, for sure.
Man, I've been jumping around
like pre-game party and shit like that.
Yeah, I can't wait, bro. 93 days. It could come very, very fast. Hopefully. You guys don't. What are you talking about? The chat is rolling. Stop complaining. What are you bitching about? I'm not kidding, but I don't mean for her to leave. Wait, what? Oh, good Lord. Yeah, but it's people. All right. What the fuck? Stop complaining. It don't matter how long you know me. Cal Towns, the captain steering the AOC ship. What's good, my guy? You're back. It's been a minute. Yeah, Cal Town has always been the leader of that ship. What?
Are you going to any games this year, Reb?
I'm still playing around it. I really, like I said, if anyone, I want to be at the Allegiant, home opener on Monday Night Football. I've never been to a primetime game, so that's really my goal. And then if I make it to that and they win, I'll be good for the season. I went to a lot of games, but after the fire, after being hit by a dump truck and shit like that, my anxiety, shit like that, and I don't drink as much as, I don't drink at all now. Back in the day, it was fun going to games, getting wasted, getting shit faced, so it's different now. I don't drink. if I did, I probably feel like I would have to drink a little bit more, just being at a game. I feel like I'd have to drink, and that might probably turn into something bad also. And then just being around the people. I don't really do too good around a big crowd like I used to. I just get a lot more nervous, a lot more, anxious and shit like that. So yeah, with the PTSD and shit like that, man, it's kind of hard. So if I do go, it'll probably be up at the top somewhere, trying to get away from everybody, or mostly tailgating and, um, you know, probably not inside as much. But so I don't go as many as I like to anymore. I'd rather sit at
Yeah.
home, be able to smoke my trees, um, you know, do my thing. To me, it's just as exciting. And besides, another main thing is the people around me don't like me. They don't like me at games because I'm screaming, I'm jumping up and down. I'll be elbowing people in the face and shit because I can't control myself. So that leads to fights and stupid shit, and I get in trouble at games, so I try to not go as much anymore.
Yeah.
Some of them's not turned out very, very good. So there's that aspect.
I'm still looking for. I'm still working on. I haven't found anything yet, but I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do for tickets for that Patriots game.
Yeah, that would be fun too, man. I wouldn't mind.
There's actually
going
more
to that.
people coming up here than I thought too. My Thursday night partner Nate, LV-Raider 10, he's coming out here. Him and his girl are coming out here for it. Captain
shit.
Jack's coming up. He's actually staying here with me in my house.
I seen that
Turf's
live. I seen that.
Turf's going to be coming up. Turf is he's an East Coast kid. He was born and raised outside of Hartford, Connecticut, so he's coming back home.
Oh, okay.
Basically, so he's going to be out here for that game. Now that I'm part of the Black Hole, we're going to hopefully get a real good, Saturday night party going. I don't know who else from the, like the super fans. I don't know if the Violators coming out. I don't know if Gorilla's coming out, but yeah, we're gonna have a hell of a party. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it's shit. Anytime you get Raiders fans together, it's always fun. Dixon Cider, I love that name, man. I swear. Those home opener tickets running at $230 plus. To me, it's not the price tag of the ticket. I'm that dumbass that'll pay $700-800 for a ticket just to be up close back in the day. But it's now I'm not as close, right? I'm in Arkansas, so it's the travel time, the hotel time. If I go, I'm not gonna just go before for the game, fly in and fly out. That shit, it's too much. It's too much wear and tear on a 50-year-old man like me. The abuse my body's been through, it's just too much. So it's the travel time, it's the distance. If I come to Vegas, I got family here in Arizona, and then they're gonna be like, well, since you're there, just come for another day or come visit, and then shit like that. So that's also the aspect. So Kansas City is a lot closer to me. I wish the Tennessee Titans game was in Tennessee. I'd definitely be there.
I'm just again, I don't want to wish the summer away, but man, I can't wait for this season to start. I'm super psyched for it.
The hell with the summer.
I want to see what we're going to do on offense. Obviously we're not going to see the full aspect of it in preseason. The good thing is hopefully I get to see it firsthand, first game of the season in New England. I want to see them just totally just throttle the Patriots. I'll be so goddamn happy.
Candy, do I have to block you? What the fuck? You fucking with my peeps, man. What's going on over here? So sensitive. You probably shouldn't be on the internet when you just flew 14 hours in a plane. You seem a little grouchy. Take your ass to bed. Take a nap, bro. Good Lord.
She's picking up Bueno.
I know. I don't know why. I know she don't bleed anymore, so it can't be that. I don't know what the problem is.
Wow.
Like, damn.
Oh,
Seem awful
I'll
grouchy
stay out of this
today.
one. I ain't getting in the middle of this.
Seem
Fuck no.
awful grouchy today. And then you're gonna call me knowing I'm in a live? What the fuck? Excuse me,
She already
returning
texted you. She said for you to
use
check your
comment bug,
text.
actually. But all right, man. So comfortability level going into the season with 1 to 100, and the chat same thing. Let me know what's your comfortability level going into the season as we stand right now, knowing everything we know. You know, a lot of things are going to change. Guys are going to change positions. Guys are going to step up. We know that. But just as we stand right now, because I'll ask this question again as we get closer. But as we stand right now, where do you feel we're at? 1 to 100.
Percent wise, I'm gonna go 65%.
Okay, I can see that. That put us what, probably 7-8 wins somewhere.
I've isolated us to be. Let's put it this way: before the draft, I had us going 6 wins, so at least getting 2 more wins than what we had last year, based on the talent that we had on the roster before the draft. Once we completed the draft, and I finally could see what his vision is possibly going to be with this, he's going to be a run first. There's no two ways about it. It's going to be opening up the run game, which then opens up your passing game, something we haven't been able to do lately. So it's going to be a totally different philosophy with this offense. Because I was more concerned about the offense. I wasn't so concerned about the defense because I think we did what we needed to do. We kept the guys that we wanted to keep, so I was more worried about the offense. So I see it after the draft. I put us at like an 8 to 9 in wins. But when I did looking at the schedule and did it with Nate on our Thursday night show. Ooh.
Yeah.
We did it on a Thursday night show. I ended up getting us at like 11 wins. And I don't know how the hell I pulled that off, but I got us to like 11 wins.
See, that's, a lot of people criticize and talk shit because I made sure I was the first content creator out there to put mine out. I was like, man, I'm going to do this before everybody because, like I said, I went over it. And I know a lot of things are going to change, but just from where we're sitting now, which, like you said, 65, 70, 75%, we got to get better at a lot of things. We got a lot of guys that, have to step up and have to be in that role and, take bigger roles. So for me, when I went through it, I was like, man, there's so many wins that I could, give us, and I could give us more, right? Like, so, it's hard. It's going to be a tough year. I think a lot of people's expectations are way higher than they normally are have been in a long time. And it's going to be a rough year, man. If it's disappointing, I'm going to, there's going to be a lot of people that are very, very pissed off at a lot of us content creators for hyping them up, gassing them up. Right. So, but yeah, man, if you don't have anything more to say or anything more to talk about, I'm gonna get off here. I got my phone's blowing up. Man. I gotta pull this damn dinner out of the oven. I forgot before it burns.
Jesus. All right, man. I'll talk to you later. Later, everybody.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all. If y'all ain't got anything else to say, y'all make sure you go check out Jeff. I know you're already subscribed, but you know how we end this shit. As always, much love, Raiders.
I can't say it too loud. Everybody's still asleep.
Right. I appreciate you, my guy.
No problem, man. Later.
Yep. Have a good night.